New Mexico's businesses need qualified, educated candidates to fill jobs. And according to data from the Department of Workforce Solutions, there are many companies that are seeking candidates for jobs with vocational training or some college. Our education desk followed this issue in July. Producer Sarah Gustavus sat down this week with two leaders to learn more about the current state of vocational training in New Mexico and what potential demand might look like in the future.
Joining me today is Ryan Pata with Rio Rancho Public Schools. He's a board member there. Also, Denise Ojeda, chair of the construction department at Central New Mexico Community College. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
I'm so excited about this conversation. Ryan, I want to kick it off with you. You're working to bring career technical training courses to Rio Rancho schools through partnerships at CNM. Why is that important for students today at Rio Rancho?
I believe it's important because the foundation of, in my belief, the foundation of economy or society is really on the services you provide and the products you produce. That's always been how societies function. The more products and the more quality service you produce, the bigger your economy. And the bigger the economy, eventually the better businesses we have as educators to ask for funding or to ask for support to help give our students a better opportunity for the future. I think that we've put so much stress on having these four-year degrees that we've really forgotten how important those programs are. As I was saying earlier, you know, a doctor, a scientist, an engineer, they're important to society. They're incredibly important. But so is the plumber, the electrician, or the auto mechanic. You know, we have to have power. We have to have running water to live an everyday life, to live as a society. And I hate for people to think that those aren't important when those are really the foundations of what keeps society going and keeps a society strong.
Yeah. Denise, you yourself went through a journeyman training program at CNM when it was TVI. You're a licensed electrician. Do you agree with Ryan? Do you see kind of this value that maybe is a little underestimated right now still?
Well, I think, of course, try to go without these services that you're accustomed to, one thing. And I think the other thing is that people don't realize what incredible amount of training it takes. Mm-hmm. To be a licensed journeyman electrician, 8,000 hours of on-the-job training on top of college education on top of that. So when you're looking at these things, these are educated people going into your homes, building the buildings that you're sitting in right now.
How do you reach out to potential students right now?
Well, CNM has we do lots of really good things. We have Skills USA, where we have college and high school students that come in and they compete for Skills USA nationally. We have different other programs. We have Habitat for Humanity, where our electrical students go out into the community and help with habitat houses. We have just apprenticeships, we have internships, we have all kinds of dual credit programs that we try everything that we can possibly think of, and we reach out into industry to say, what do you need from us and how can we supply the workforce?
How do you know right now what businesses need in New Mexico and making sure that your programs are aligning with that over at CNM?
We have advisory committees that we meet a couple times a year, and I invite anyone who wants to be on any of our committees to call CNM and say, I want to be a part of this. We invite them to come in, we do a report out, we tell them what we're doing, and we ask them, how are our programs, do you have our students and how are they doing? And do you have any suggestions to improve curriculum or what we need to get back out into industry? So we're very focused on that, and we are very up to date on those issues.
Here on New Mexico in Focus, and I think everyone in New Mexico, we often talk about the high school graduation rate and how to raise that in New Mexico. You mentioned dual credit. Ryan, do you think having these programs in the high school will help connect some young people who really see a career path for themselves in a vocational training program?
I absolutely do, and that's one of the things when I brought forth this proposal to the school board. As I said in the committee, my thought is that by offering by additional career technical or vocational classes, you're going to bring a portion of the student body that previously thought, maybe I can't do it, or maybe they weren't interested. But my thought is that even 10% of our graduates per year, which we're going to say is 100 students, that's 100 more students that are now involved in math and science. That's now 100 more students that say, you know what, I want to be a stronger member of my community, I want to help my community grow, and it gives them that drive. And those students might help another student. It has a snowball effect. And like I said, it's looking at the positives. But if you give that smaller portion who might feel excluded an additional chance to be reined back in, who knows what they could do.
Denise, do you see that in some of the dual credit students, that they're really feeling engaged and working on a trade?
Well, what's really unique about how we do our programs, our students come in and they're in cohorts. So if they have theories backed by their labs. So if we don't get it done the first day, you have a secondary class to reinforce these values. What I find, we work at them so that they establish teamwork and how they can work well with each other. And what happens, I have a dual credit in my class right now, they're just accepted and they're part of the group, and they can't imagine going on to the next semester without their group. So they encourage each other. They meet for study groups. They ask questions. They meet in groups outside of the classroom to ensure that as a group they're going to advance to the next semester.
And how you mentioned that it's a little more challenging than sometimes people imagine. The rigor of the program, how do you prepare people for that and help them go complete their certificate or their training?
Well, what's really great about C&M is that we have these resources. We have advisors, we have achievement coaches, we have disability services, we have financial aid, we have scholarships. So once we can identify what the student might need, and we have great ways of quickly identifying them, we can point them in the direction where they can get help and the support, in addition to the cohort and the instructors themselves. There's outside things that we can, if we can point them in that direction quickly, then we can hopefully get them the support they need to be successful.
How does that compare to when you were going through your program?
Oh, totally different. I mean, I went to school a couple nights a week. That's what an apprenticeship does, and I worked during the day, and it was very much more about the physicality of it. And it was about not knowing and not feeling that I was prepared, because you're learning on the job in real time. What I enjoy about teaching at C&M is that we're sitting there and we have ample opportunity to really explain and take the time, because we're not on anyone's time clock except our own school calendar. And we can really plan, if something didn't work one day, we have another opportunity to make it right the next. So that's kind of a luxury, I think, when you're in our programs.
Interesting. Are there more opportunities for young women who want to go into various trades, such as these construction fields and electricians and?
Well, I think there is, in that there's such a skills gap for qualified licensed people right now. And I think contractors and society they're saying, hey, we don't have anybody to fill these gaps. So the point of, they're not picky about women and they're not picky about all these different things. That's out the door. They're looking at what's your education, what's your experience, and are you qualified? So all those stigmas seem to have to go aside because there's this desperate need to fill these gaps.
Ryan, your thoughts on that?
I absolutely agree. I've been working since I've been working on this, I've worked very extensively with the business community in Rio Rancho. I've talked to developers of NAIOP, which is Commercial Industrial Group. I've talked to Sandoval Economic Alliance, who work to bring in new businesses into the community. And as I've talked to the vocational and the CTE business leaders, the one thing everyone tells me is, I can't find qualified people. I have one gentleman who owns a construction company, and he said right now I would have to hire 15 more people just to be able to almost keep up with the just basic demand that I have. He says he's actually turning clients away because he doesn't have enough people to perform the jobs. And that just tells you how much in demand these jobs are, is when you have a business that employs dozens of people, or 30, 40 people, and they're telling people, I'm sorry, I can't take you as a client because I don't have enough people. That tells you the demand for those services.
Are you also thinking about how the economy is always changing? There's new demands, new opportunities out there. How are you going to help the students keep up with that with your programs?
I definitely think that the best way to keep involved is through the businesses. That has been my focal point for this entire program, is that I want to have these partnerships with the businesses and the higher institutions and see what we can do, because ultimately they're the ones that know much better than myself what the demands are going forward. And I think having those clear lines of communication with the businesses and the higher education institutions gives me the opportunity to say, this is something we can look at for our kids. And the more information they give me, the better I can adapt, or I can work with the board to adapt the curriculum. And ultimately, it's just going to make us more successful.
This month here on New Mexico in Focus, we're also talking about the brain drain of talented young people leaving the state for jobs. And as you're saying, there are lots of jobs here that aren't being filled right now. How do you see this intersecting with the brain drain and encouraging young people to see a future for themselves, either through entrepreneurship or through meeting the various demands that are already out there in New Mexico?
I think, and this is just my personal belief, but I think that a lot of young people leave the state with the brain drain because they don't feel the opportunities are there. I know that, and I will admit I was one of them. At 19, you think you know everything. 19, my parents told me, you go to school, look for a career, and I told my mom, you know what, I don't want to be here, and I told her I was moving, and she thought I meant down the street, and I told her, no, I'm moving to Maui, Hawaii. I left for a couple of years and came back because I didn't feel the opportunities were here. But then once I realized through school that the opportunities were here, my point of view changed. And I think that's the problem that the younger generation is having, is that they're told to get a job, but they don't really know what's out there. They're just told, oh, it's out there, find it. But they don't know where to look, and they don't have, unfortunately, the support mechanisms in place to help them find those jobs. I think that as we put more emphasis on these programs and on these types of education, the business and working with business leaders, we can say, no, these jobs are out here. This is where you need to go. You can look at A, B, or C. And once these younger individuals realize, oh, there is jobs for me, I don't have to, so try to run away to greener pasture, so to speak, they'll stay. And once more and more people start saying, okay, there are jobs available to me, I don't think that we're going to be losing as many young people as we do.
Denise, I saw you nodding. Do you have something you want to add?
Well, just reinforcing what he was saying about all of that is that we get a lot of students, they come in, they don't know that they have a knack or a talent. And once they find that focus, once they find something that they're truly passionate about, you can't stop them. I mean, they're successful, they're excited about what they do, and they want to be there. And once they want to be there, with the hands-on activities that we do, the contextualized learning that they're being taught, once they find their purpose, get out of their way because they're ready. But walking into the classroom, sometimes they don't have it. And I can see if you have dual credit high school students coming in and they're given these ideas to identify with early on, I mean, there's nothing to say that, yes, you're going to be an electrician the rest of your life, or a plumber or an auto guy. But you can say, hey, this is a great start. I can make a great living. I can go on and get an advanced degree. I can get a PhD in something, but in the meantime, I can support myself and my family. And it's a nice progressive step to the beginning of your life.
It opens their horizon.
Yes, yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming in this week and talking about these programs and opportunities for folks here in New Mexico.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.